Hello all, my name's Ashley and welcome to part 2 of this series where we're finding out how many national rail stations you guys can visit directly from London. For those that haven't seen part 1, go check that out. There'll be a link somewhere up there or there. But yeah, this episode we're focusing on the north. And let's get straight into it, starting off with LNER. They operate direct services from London King's Cross all along the East Coast Main Line as far as Scotland, including Inverness, Glasgow and Aberdeen. There are a few branches heading out to Harrogate, Skipton, Bradford, Hull, Lincoln, as well as Sunderland, which is a recent addition, so it's a pretty extensive network. So in terms of the numbers, well, LNER whizzes past 165 stations, which, considering how far it is, it's not that many, I thought. In total, it stops directly from London King's Cross at 48 of these, which comes in at just over 29%. So this falls completely flat on its face, if you remember correctly from part 1, where other operators were getting like 60, 70, 80%. But, it's to be expected. You can't expect LNER, which is a fast, long-distance service, to compare to C2C, which is a stopping commuter service, which goes maybe 90 miles. So because of that reason, I've actually divided the train operating companies into 4 distinct categories, which are my personal preference, but it will just help divide the percentages to make it comparative, let's say. So the first category is for the local commuter stopping services, where I've put C2C, Chiltern and Thameslink in. Next, we have the intercity with commuter services, and most of the train operators fall into this category, which includes GWR, South Western Railway, Greater Anglia, Southern. We also got North Western Railway and the South Eastern. We then, of course, have the fast long-distance services, which we include Avanti West Coast and LNER. And finally, we have the open access operators, which include Hull Trains and Grand Central. So this is my personal preference, and of course everyone has their own opinion. So let me know what you think if, a train operating company should move around. I'm happy to move it if there's justification for it. Anyway, let's move on to the other long distance service, which is Avanti West Coast. So Avanti operate the West Coast Main Line, with trains leaving London Euston all the way up to Glasgow Central and Edinburgh Waverley. This reaches a variety of destinations along the way, including Manchester, Shrewsbury, Liverpool, Blackpool, as well as Holyhead and Wrexham in Wales. It's quite hard to see on this scale, but it passes through 131 stations, which is thereabout the East Coast Main Line. However, Avanti serves 47 of these, which brings it to about 35%. So, what else heads up north? Well, let's do the open access operators next, which are Grand Central and Hull Trains. Starting with Grand Central, they operate relatively few trains a day from King's Cross, up the East Coast to Bradford and Sunderland. It zooms up to York without stopping anywhere, which helps with speed, but not so much for connectivity. There are a total of 55 stations it passes, but it only stops at 15 of them, adding up to about 27.27% recurring. So then we move on to Hull Trains, which is the other open access operator. And they operate a pretty niche route out of London King's Cross to, you guessed it, Beverley. So if you're like me, you also assumed it terminated at Hull, but you'd be wrong. It in fact terminates at a place called Beverley, which is 2 stops north of Hull. Fun fact for you there. Anyway, so the Hull Trains manages to pass through 51 stations in total, serving only 11 directly, which is by far our worst percentage at 21%. But let's not forget, these open access operators are not there for connectivity, they're there to make a profit. And the only way to really do this is by operating fast services, which are direct and stop off at fairly big / underserved stations. Hence you have Hull and Grand Central, which operate to Bradford and Hull, which don't actually have any other services, until recently, of course. So we have 3 more operators that head up relatively far up north, one of which is East Midlands Trains, who depart from St Pancras, heading up the Midlands Main Line, which I also never knew was a thing. Now this is a slightly strange one because they operate a lot of routes, just not from London. It's focused around the Midlands and orients outwards, as opposed to being a London-centric train operating company. So in total, the network has 159 stations on it, but only serves 17 directly from London, which is just over 10%. Anyway, we're nearly there, so stay with me. So next up, we have the London North Western Railway. Departing from London Euston up to Liverpool, it has 2 spares out to Bedford and St Albans, and generically follows the West Coast Main Line. It passes through a total of 75 stations, serving 51 of them directly, which is 68% bang on. So far, we've got through God knows how many operators, but here's how the list is stacking up so far. In the local commuters section, we have C2C on top with 100% coverage, and Chiltern a close second. We're still waiting to see what Thameslink will do. Running to the intercity and commuter services, we have 4 of the 8 complete, and this is how it's stacking up, with South Western Railway on top and East Midlands towards the bottom with the 10.69%. Next we have the long distance trains, and both of these are in. We got Avanti taking the lead with 35.88%, and we got LNER in second place, so it's not all bad. Finally, we have the open access operators, and both of these are also in. Grand Central is taking the lead with 27%, and that's closely followed by Hull Trains. With all that, the total number of stations directly reached from London currently stands at 448. We still have some of the big commuter lines to go, including South Eastern, Thameslink and GWR, but you're going to have to wait till next time to find out about those. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this part, and otherwise I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.